उपविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्.
When it gets fixed to the Atma, automatically he will not be interested in the kamas. Why? Because the soul is the source of all joy, everything. So once you get that joy of getting anchored in the impersonal soul, you will understand that the no world enjoyment is going to make you really joyous. You will not look for any enjoyment from the world. In Sadhana Chatushta, it is called Uparati. Rati means enjoyment, indulgence. Rati means taking the rasa from the world. Uparati means withdrawal from rati. Now this withdrawal from enjoying the world will take place simultaneously with Atmarati. When we start enjoying our anchorage in the self. So Uparati, actually we don't have to forcefully stop our enjoying the world. Enjoyment will remain in a very sublime nature. You will not look for it, but you will enjoy because you are loving everybody. You would like to think well of everybody, do good for everybody. So that kind of a mild enjoyment will be there, and not mild, but that is the harmless enjoyment which there is no selfishness, anything. So it will be replaced by Atmarati, because Atma also, it is not that you are going into the meditation and having the Atmarati. When you understand the universality of the truth, then whatever you do out of that universality. So Atma is everywhere. So you won't miss it anymore. So automatically he becomes Nispriha Sarva Kamebhyaha. Whatever desires are there, he will not be haunted by any of the desires. Yukta ityuchyate tada. This is the definition of the Yukta. Then he is called Yukta. Then what does it mean? When we are anchored in the Atma, it is Yukta. Now this anchorage can happen two ways. One, when we are meditating, it can be a wholesome anchorage that your mind is not functioning, buddhi is not functioning, you have got merged, dissolved in the Atma. That is one thing. But when you are active, your mind cannot get dissolved there, then you will not be able to act. So then it is through the buddhi. This I am telling again and again and again because lot of misconception is there about it. At that time it is not, if you always remain in samadhi, you cannot work. And when you come back also, you will be again in the same soup unless you have anchored your buddhi in the reality, in the truth. That is, you are having the viveka buddhi full level. So during the interactive period, it is acting according to the viveka buddhi. So naturally you are not governed by the motivation of desire. Anything you are doing not motivated by desire, but by the viveka buddhi, by the niyata. Such an action is called niyata karma. To say that, I came back to 6th chapter. Viniyatam chittam, it doesn't mean nitya karma. Here it is niyata karma, means well-regulated karma. That means whatever our viveka buddhi is saying, we should be able to do. Normally what will happen? The viveka buddhi is saying don't do it, but our senses are attracted. Our mind following the senses are also deluded. So we run after that. Although the viveka is saying no, it is wrong, you do not do. We end up doing it because of the greed or bhogecha, whatever is there, of the mind, of the senses. So there will be always an internal clash going on. The mind is not listening to the viveka buddhi, the senses are not listening to the proper guidance. So when it becomes viniyatam, means the whole being, all the parts of the being are harmonized. They are all linked to the reality of our identity, the true identity, to the truth. Then what happens? The buddhi is completely identified with the truth, it is anchored in the truth. Mind following the buddhi will be doing whatever the buddhi says, Viveka buddhi says, and mind, when it follows the Viveka, senses will automatically be following according to that, because it can do only with the support of the mind. So the whole being will be harmonious. Normally we are having an internal clash going on in our personality. We are having the stress because of that. Always it is, in English we call clash, in Sanskrit it is called klesha. Same. Always that klesha is going on, the rubbing is going on, the friction is going on, the conflict is going on. Only when the Viveka Buddhi is completely anchored in the truth and the mind is following the Viveka and the senses automatically follow that, then we will find the whole being is becoming harmonious. That internal clash is no more there. So you will feel a prasada. It is not an ecstatic bliss or anything, but always there will be a placidity of the mind. The mind will be placid. Placid means a very calm, poised state of the mind. It is called prasada. We are always happy with what prasada? That, what do you call it? Shakkarpara. The real prasada is this. See, when you go to a saint, the prasada is this what we get from. Because even if you sit before a saint without speaking anything, you will find an antashitalata, an inner coolness is dawning in you. That is why if you go with lot of questions, when you have sat for a few minutes, you will find that no questions are coming up. That means the problems are rising from your mind only. Solution lies there only. If the mind is specified, the questions are gone. Again it will come back when you go. No, not that it will go forever. It will go when your buddhi is anchored in the soul. Then the questions will not be there. The whole being will be harmonized. And there will be a coolness within, which is called antashitalata. It is called prasada because it is not an ecstatic bliss or anything, but there will be a calm placidity which comes from lack of conflicts within, lack of clash within. So this shloka you should remember and note down as this is the definition of yuktata, because yukta word has been used thoroughly everywhere, in Bhagavad Gita so many times, in Upanishads also, in Kathopanishad also. When the whole being gets harmonized, Kathopanishad, taking that chariot example I have shown, I will show one day, the projector, we have shown that the chariot, it leads us to the ultimate auspicious goal. That is the yukta state. Similarly, repeatedly it comes. So to remember what is this yukta, because yukta we use in the sense of moderation also. Just before this, 17th, 16th verse, it is there. Yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. This yukta, we can explain it as a moderation. Moderation in food, moderation in habits, etc. But truly speaking, it is not moderation. Moderation is coming from the Viveka Buddhi actually. This also means you are in doing anything, in doing tapas, in eating food, in undertaking any activity, be guided by the Viveka Buddhi. Etānyapi tu karmāni
एतान्यपि तु कर्माणि
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च
कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ
कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ
निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम्.
निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम्.
This sangam tyaktva phalani cha, if it is practiced, then what will happen? initially it is Viveka Buddhi. That is, Viveka will guide our all. It will be a harmonious action. But finally, this renunciation of the Kartri Bhoktri Bhava, this is the shortest expression, Kartri Bhoktri Bhava. Kartri Bhava means Kartritva. That means doership. That means ego. What we'll refer to as ego, that I am doing, I have done this, I have done that, I have to do this, I will do this, I will do that. That means you do whatever you are doing. That I is more important than the doing. When we say I have done this, what you have done is not so important. It might be something good, but that I have done this, that part is causing the problem. That is the Sangha part of it. Similarly, about future, the Phala part is that I will enjoy this, I will be doing this. So both that I becoming the focus is the creating the Sangha and the Phala. That Phala Bhogecha, Phala Abhisandhi it is called. There is a shloka in Yoga Vasishtha, I think. Atita ananusandhanam bhavishyad avicharanam audasinyam api praptam jivan muktasya lakshanam. Atita means past. Na anusandhanam means ananusandhanam. Atita ananusandhanam. That means do not run after the past. You may think of the past to find whatever mistakes we have done or to have a guidance for the future or anything. There is no problem at all. But the moment, suppose you have found out some mistake and you are becoming depressed, these are the practical tips. Nowadays, all the people who attend lecture, they want some tablets, tips, Swamiji, keys chahiye. If you call it the key to happiness, they are very happy. The key mila ki nahi mila, usme kuch nahi hai. Finally, they will go without key or losing the key also. But the title has to be 3 keys to happiness, or 3 keys to excellence. So, what is this? The tip is, you can take the help of the past experience to decide that this has gone wrong, I have to do this. But seeing that you have done wrong, when you become depressed, that depression is caused by the ego and phala bhogecha both. Are you able to understand? You should see, as when you are seeing that this flower has dried, it has become black. Are you getting depressed? No. But when you are finding something wrong with my action or my insight, we are getting depressed. Similarly, suppose one day you discover that I am very jealous. If you become depressed, then your jealousy will not go. You have to see it with the objective vision that yes, there is some jealousy. As you see in jealousy in others, you have to see jealousy in you also. When will it happen? When you have the impersonality. Do you get it? So, the moment we become, similarly you can apply it to elation also. Suppose you have done something very good. The moment you become elated about it, it's a praiseworthy work, I have done it. It's gone, it is then the Sangha. Then again it is the Sangha and phala bhogecha. So atita ananusandhanam doesn't mean that you don't look at the atita at all. For your experience, your guidance, whatever, you can do anything. Like a research student, as if you are looking into the objective world, look into your own life also. Then you will get the correct vision also. Otherwise what will happen? When you see something wrong, you will try to cover up. Not to others, to yourself also you will not be able to be open. To yourself also you will try to, if you find your mind, you will try to cover up, saying excuses and putting forward this excuse, that excuse, etc. Similarly, when it is something good, you will try to aggrandize it. That good might be your friend is doing much more, you have never appreciated. But when you have done, you are elated about it. So, this is what is coming. So, when they say atita ananusandhanam means don't run after this past, means relate it to your ego and phala bhogecha. You should not do. Similarly, bhavishyad avicharanam. Don't go on imagining the future loitering in the future world of I will do this, I will do that, then this will happen, I will get lot of money, I will become multimillionaire, then my wife will be happy. All those things. These are all Sangha and Phalabhisandhi, Phalabhogecha. You can think of the future. When you are putting up a factory, you have to think very well of the future. That what is the product going to be? How much we are going to invest? When the product comes out, will it have the market proper? At what point we will sell? How many people we will employ? Is it not about future? So all those thoughts should be there, but not connected to your phalabhogecha, that and then I will become happy, or I will gain this, I will gain that, I will become a millionaire. समझ रहे हैं ना? सो अतीत अननुसंधानम भविष्यद विचारणम औदासीन्यम अपि प्राप्तम. What is this audasinyam? We generally use audasinya as a person who doesn't take interest in anything. It is not so. Udasinata has come from ut asina. Asina means seated. Ut means high. That means one who is seated at a high level, elevated level. एक लंबा स्टूल लगा दिया, ऊपर बैठ जाइए, एलिवेटेड लेवल होगा क्या? ये अंदर में है. दैट एलिवेटेड लेवल इज इन द विवेका बुद्धि. इट इज सेम विवेका बुद्धि. द बुद्धि हैज टू बी कनेक्टेड टू द सोल. दैट इज द औदासीन्यम. Because audasinyam means he will not have this selfish personal various desires and all. That is why we call, from there the abbreviation has come. When somebody is a little dispassionate also we say udasina, udasin hoke baithe hai. Matlab he doesn't have interest in food and other things. Actually he is not guided by the personal selfish interest because of his high seatedness, because of his intelligence getting anchored in the soul, in the viveka buddhi. So, audasinyam api praptam, jivan muktasya lakshanam. These are the characteristic marks of a jivan mukta who is liberated while alive, while living. So, niyatasya tu sannyasah karmanah nopapadyate, na upapadyate is not proper. What is not proper? Niyatasya karmanah, niyatasya shashti ekavachanam, karmanah also shashti ekavachanam. So, niyata is the karma's visheshana, adjective. Niyatasya karmanah tu sannyasah na upapadyate. That one should not renounce or leave the niyata karma. Niyata karma means well-regulated karma, viveka guided karma. That means all the actions should not be desire-motivated action. Now all our actions are desire-motivated. So they should be left. Actually the karmas should not be left, but the desire should be left. This is the correction. Even if it is a desire-motivated karma, suppose you open a factory, you are going to do a project or so, or a factory, you are initially guided by said desire. You have desired that by that I will become very rich, or this will happen, that will happen. You are starting with the desire. Now Bhagavad Gita is not saying that because it is desire motivated you leave the activity. Do you get my point? These have to be understood very well. People are misunderstanding everything. If you leave the activity, then you lose the opportunity to purify your mind, to progress in the sadhana. What he is saying is that, well, it is, you have thought about it as a desire motivated activity, motivated by desire. But now do the activity leaving the desire. You understand it very well that it is an action which will have some objective result, which will be good for the people or good for this or that. It is a service to the people or whatever you want. And it has to be done, but I should not pin my happiness or unhappiness, my loss, gain, etc., inner gain, inner loss, etc., to the result. So it no longer remains desire motivated. It is motivated by your viveka. This has to be done. Is it to be done or not? You analyze again. If it is something which should not be done, you leave the activity also. If it is to be done according to the viveka, do it. Mohat tasya parityagaha tamasah parikirtitaha. Out of delusion, if you leave that work, the niyata, the well-regulated viveka-guided work, the work, actions which are guided by viveka, if you leave them out of delusion, that day also we took some example, but there will be so many examples about it, that suppose one is coming to my mind, that one devotee was there who one day came to Swamiji and said that, Swamiji, I have surrendered all my tan, man, dhan. That means my body, mind and whatever I have at your feet. So I will stay here and do rest of my life, I will stay in the ashram and do the tapas. So Swamiji knew that the person is not at all harmonious with anybody. So he said that, see, if you leave whatever sadhana you have been doing, he is an initiated disciple of Swamiji, I think, as far as I know. Whatever sadhana you have been doing, at home you have not been able to harmonize with your even children also, son or wife or so. In the profession also you have not been able to be comfortable with anybody. So there also there is a lot of trouble. Do you think that coming to an ashram you will be happy where people have come from? In home at least they are your children, your wife. In an ashram 10 people have come from 10 different states, different linguistic background, cultural background, economic background, educational background. It's a mixture of all strange variety. So it is extremely difficult to live harmoniously in an ashram. A person of your nature who has not been able to even work in the office or stay in the family with harmony will not be able to do it at all. So it's a wrong step. Why don't you do the sadhana there itself? When you find that nothing is affecting you, then you can think of coming to the ashram also. Or if you want to leave the family life and all, I can give you an advice that you have a property in such and such place. Why don't you have a small kutia there and do your tapas sitting there alone? No, Swamiji, I have offered everything at your feet. I will stay here and do my tapas here. So he is thinking that leaving all the activities, he will be very comfortable in the ashram. This is the delusion. He has not been able to be harmonious at home is because of what? Is it because of the external situation or his own internal situation? He is not able to, even when the Guru is explaining, however much he explained, he was not able to understand. This is the delusion people suffer from. They think that the work, that is the situation, external situation is causing all the problem. My family is not all right. My school was not all right. My office was not all right. And that is why I am disturbed. If I stay in the ashram here, everything is full and fragrant. Everything will be all right. This is the tamasika tyaga. Out of delusion. There will be so many other examples, it's not coming to my mind. See, why they are writing about it? Because after the Upanishadic era, where this karma tyaga was not at all so prevalent, there was a time when the spirituality got a little lopsided, it got a little deviated from the reality. So people started thinking that leaving home, leaving all the work and taking up sannyasa in the cave or in the forest is all what spirituality means. And Bhagavad Gita means karma tyaga. That means you have to leave whatever you are doing, you cannot do. That is called the Naishkarmya. Actually, neither Naishkarmya is that, not sannyasa is that. Sannyasa means the renunciation of the ego, and Naishkarmya means renunciation of the doership, possessorship, that you are neither possessing anything, you are neither not doing anything. So it is an internal attainment. But that internal attainment concept was somehow not so prevalent. So people started leaving. That is why Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is repeatedly saying. You can find in Arjuna, that is also, what is that? That is coming in the Rajasika Tyaga. What was Arjuna saying? That I have to fight with my grandfather, grandmother, and it is going to be a great sinful activity. So better I will take up sannyasa and beg and stay in the forest. That was his statement. So he was also trying to renounce his work. He was a fighter. His war was his work. He was trying to renounce that, thinking that by renouncing and taking to a paribrajan life of a sannyasin, he will attain the highest. That is not exactly tamasika delusion. Delusion is there, but that is a sort of a rajasika tyaga, as it is coming in the next verse. What is it? Dukkhamityeva yat karma
दुःखमित्येव यत्कर्म
kaya klesha bhayat tyajet
कायक्लेशभयात् त्यजेत्
sakritva rajasam tyagam
सकृत्वा राजसं त्यागं
naiva tyaga phalam labhet
नैव त्यागफलं लभेत्
dukkhamityev yat karma
दुःखमित्येव यत्कर्म
kaya klesha bhayat tyajet
कायक्लेशभयात् त्यजेत्
sakritva rajasam tyagam
सकृत्वा राजसं त्यागं
naiva tyaga phalam labhet.
नैव त्यागफलं लभेत्
He says, Dukkham iti eva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat tyajet. Kaya klesha bhayat tyajet. Kaya means body, klesha means trouble. So, Dukkham iti and kaya klesha bhaya. That means two things are there. One is that it will cause sorrow to the mind, unhappiness to the mind, trouble to the mind, and it will cause trouble to the body. So both these thoughts, out of these thoughts, one who renounces some work. So he says, Dukkham ityeva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat tyajet. Your Viveka Buddhi is saying that it has to be done. In Mahabharata also, Krishna is repeatedly saying that Tasmad Yudhyasva Bharata, Tasmad Yudhyasva, Tasmad Yudhyasva. Therefore, Arjuna, you fight. That means, if he considers Krishna as the Guru, his own Viveka Buddhi may not be that clear or sharp by then. But the Guru is saying, he has to listen to the Guru. What a disciple does, until his Viveka becomes absolutely clear, he has to listen to the Guru and follow whatever the Guru says. That is why we say the unquestioning devotion to the Guru. Unquestioning devotion. When the Guru says, simply we have to do it. Why? Because my Viveka Buddhi is not fully clear. The clarity has not dawned. If you start analyzing Guru's statement that he is saying like this, whether I should do or whether I should not do, that means who is Guru?